If you have ever watched one of my videos before, you probably know that I mostly read romance, fantasy, contemporary fiction, and occasionally thriller books, but never horror. So you're probably wondering, like, why am I reading Stephen King then? Because he is apparently the master of horror. Um, but I really want to see what the hype is about, and he is considered like he's like the most famous, one of the most famous authors ever. So I really want to see like what his writing style is like. And I've watched one Stephen King movie before, and I've watched the first time I was a bit scared. Like for me, I scare very easily, and I don't like watching anything like horror or like gory stuff. It's just like I have to sleep with like, or like even true crime like that's the worst one for me. But I feel like books are different in a way, horror books, because although like I can visualize like what is on paper, it's not actually like it's not imprinted into my brain the way like a horror movie is. Because after I watch scary like anything, I have to like sleep with the light on. Like I just get very scared, and even when I close my eyes to go to sleep, I still see the like scary image in my brain and it doesn't go away. So I feel like books are different in that way, where it's not actually like, well, actually I don't know. I don't think I've never read horror before, but I have read thrillers, and I don't really get scared. I just want to like want to know what's happening next. Well, you guys will see in the next clips what Stephen King book I chose at the library. So let's go see that. I ended up choosing Pet Cemetery, and I chose this because I know it's like one of his more popular titles. Going into this blindly, like I don't know anything about this book, and I kind of want to do that because I probably would scare myself into not reading it. But you're following this family, Lewis, Rachel, and then their two kids and their cat. And they just moved to Maine from Chicago. And this is off topic, but I think like I went to Bar Harbor like a long time ago, like in elementary school, and I think we like drove past Stephen King's house, cause doesn't he live in like Maine? And yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Maybe he like sets all of his books in Maine because he lives there. Anyway, um, yeah. So basically, you're just following this family, and the part I got up to right now, they're they just discovered the Pet Cemetery graveyard, and this kind of explained why the title is spelled like the cemetery with an S, because I was like, why is it like that? But I think it's because of like the children who have written their graves for their pets, and like of course they're not going to spell everything right, so I think it's like to show like the childlike nature of like, I think it's supposed to be like how a kid would write the title. Yeah, because when they go to the graveyard, like a lot of things are spelled incorrectly, so that kind of explained why it was like the title is like that. And also, if you're thinking of reading it, so there's not really like a separation of chapters. It's basically like the chapter ends on the same page. Like I'll show you, which is kind of interesting for me. I don't know if you can see that, but wait. This is the end of chapter 6, and then chapter 7 just starts like right there. All of his writing, but I just thought that was like interesting. Hi guys, so I have got up to I have gotten up to page 111 in Pet Sematary, and it has been pretty slow in the beginning, but then something like really big happened and it started to like quicken up, and I guess you could call it, we got into like the meat of the plot, specifically regarding the Pet Sematary, but we don't know fully like what is happening. And I thought his writing was a little bland in the beginning, but now I feel like definitely with the scary stuff, like he's definitely, I get why he's the best at writing what he does, which is horror, because his descriptors of just like the gory stuff, like it's very, like I find it scary. And I don't really scare much, but like his just, I'll like read a quote that kind of shows like, so this quote like really stood out to me, that maybe this was how your mind coped with the flying saucer you saw hovering silently over your backfield one morning, casting its own tight little pool of shadow. The rain of frogs, the hand from under the bed that stroked your bare foot in the dead of night. There was a giggling fit or a crying fit, and since it was its own inviolable, I don't know how to say that word. Since it was its own inviolable self, and would not break down, you simply passed terror intact like a kidney stone. And like just those descriptions, like how he was describing seeing a UFO and like your mind not actually believing what you just saw and kind of going into a state of shock, like that's what was happening to him. And something that also was just very creepy, and like it like makes you like dreadful, and like it gives you this feeling of like being sick to your stomach. It was like, I kind of related it to, what's it called, the Smile movie. I obviously have never watched it, but I know people who have, and like they said it was super super scary, but I've seen the trailer, and basically the premise is like, I don't know the full like story, but it's like this girl who is like mentally ill or something, and then in the hospital they show a scene where she's like smiling, and then she like kills herself basically. And when these people smile at other people, it like invokes suicidal thoughts or something. Like it's very crazy. This quote, like I like could see the setting, like he set up the setting so well and the scene so well that I can vividly like see in my own way, but also in how I think he wanted the reader to visualize this. I'll read it. So this is like one of the main, like the husband is a doctor at University of Maine, and this is like his assistant who's talking. She says, "Come on, Charlton said to the girl who had closed the drape. She was pulling the corners of her mouth with her fists, again making that humorless, screaming grin. And then it goes on, like, this girl who has that, like, super creepy grin on her face, it's called, like, a candy striper. I think it's, like, a nurse, like, a term for somebody who's, like, the doctor's helper. And then, where is it? So this person who comes into the infirmary, in the book it says, this grin was remarkably like the mirthless, hysterical grin of the candy striper who had closed the drapes. So I think that definitely has, I think that definitely has something to do with each other. I think he's like foreshadowing something, and I'm scared to see like what that is. But yeah, it's definitely unlike anything I've ever read. Finished Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and I am giving this 3 stars. I didn't think it was like necessarily scary. I'll read my favorite review in a minute, but I just didn't like the fact that it kind of, I feel like it wasn't necessary to have this is like a spoiler, but it wasn't necessary to have one of the kids die, especially like the youngest, and he was like only like 1 or 2 years old, and it was very like gruesome how it was described, which I really didn't like that. But I guess like it is horror, but like still that's like not, I just don't like reading about that. And I guess the main premise it was like how far grief can like take you to do things your mind probably is like tricking you into, which was for Lewis like trying to in the end like make his whole family come back to life even though they were dead. And it dealt with a lot of like supernatural themes, so it wasn't really scary for me because it's not like a like I don't know, like something that's happened before, but it was just like kind of like almost in a way of fantasy, not, but like more like, I guess, like it wasn't like, it was easy for me to understand, but I don't think we needed to have all this rambling and like long monologues of the characters. So I'll read my review. So I said, not necessarily scary, but filled with lots of rambling, slow-paced setting of scenes, and supernatural creatures. I don't think this book needed to be jam-packed with so many pages as it did, because even for me as a first-time Stephen King reader, the premise was simple to understand and we didn't need to keep prolonging the story. And a quote that I liked was the one that I just read, I think in the beginning of this video. It was like, it started with, perhaps this is what people do with the inexplicable, but I already read that, so I'm not going to read it again. But yeah, I landed on a 3 stars. So yeah, I would recommend, if you want something like that's very in-depth, and has a lot of descriptors, like I could easily visualize what the author, I guess, wanted. And the story was kind of easy to understand and definitely not scary for me, which, like, I get scared easily, and this was not like something that scared me. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. This is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment if you've read Pet Sematary before, or if you want to read it, if it's on your TBR. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.